Welcome to the Employee to Entrepreneur podcast. I'm your host, Bill Clanton, and this past week I had the opportunity to speak at the Forked River Rotary, and I got to speak to a room full of Rotarians about a topic that I call getting your message out, getting your message heard. So this was recorded live and raw right to my phone sitting on the podium. Enjoy. Now, you may notice a few spots where I did screw up a date or two on the actual start of when podcasting started, but ignore that mistake and the rest of the content is great.
It's called Getting the Message Out. Okay, Bill?
All right.
Bill, where's the puppet? You want to come here? You want to whatever?
You know what? That seems like the
You can sit on that.
voice project. I'm not going to sit down. First of all, I appreciate you inviting me out today. Just a little bit about myself and pretty much how I got to be here today. WBNJ is a labor of love that started back in 2000, so 17 years ago, as an idea that my dad and a fellow engineer friend of ours brought to my attention. And they said, you know what, we can build a radio station in the Barnegat-Manahawkin area. What do you think? And I said, well, of course, let's do it. So we real quick scrambled together, got all the engineering together, sent all the paperwork off to the FCC, and in typical government fashion, it took only a measly 7 years for us to get a response and get a construction permit to build that radio station. But in 2007, we got the construction permit. By 2010, we got everything together, and with a week to spare before the construction permit ran out, because the FCC gives you only 3 years to finish building once they give you a construction permit. With 1 week to spare, we got all our documents into the FCC and officially started broadcasting June 1st of 2010. The station itself... Well, pretty much, if you've never listened to us, I invite you to listen to us. It's everything from Sinatra to the Beatles, and then we play some, what I call future unforgettable favorites like Michael Bublé, Harry Connick Jr., Natalie Cole, but the biggest part of what we do with WBNJ is serve the community, and I'm sure that that's something that can resonate very well in this room, is how we serve the community. So that is a huge part of what we do. But one of the things that we're running into as a struggle as a radio station, as any radio station that tells you otherwise is lying. The struggle right now is the fight for attention. We are fighting on a daily basis for someone's attention, no matter what it used to be really simple. You had three major advertising sources: radio, television, newspaper. That was it. So if you wanted to get your message out and be heard, that's all it took. Put an ad in the paper. Get an ad on radio. Maybe, if you have enough money, put an ad on television. Now, when you look at all the different areas that you're trying to get your message out to, it is almost impossible to get it out to all of them. But also, if you're sticking with the traditional mediums, it's a battle, and that's a battle that we as a radio station are dealing with on a regular basis. So what I did in my previous job, I worked for a company called Greater Media, and I worked there for almost 20 years over different buyouts of the company. But when I left the company, the last 7 years that I was with them, I was the head of interactive marketing for the 6 radio stations in New Jersey. So what did that mean? Well, it meant that I was in charge of building their web products and building their websites, mobile apps, podcasting, video streaming, YouTube, you name it. I left there in 2013, November 1st, 2013, to start my own company. This is 3 years after WBNJ was launched. So I started my own company doing just that, building websites for people and doing video, photography, all the things that I'd been doing at my job. I turned it into my now profession, and I pretty much, as I called it, employer independence. I declared that and became my own boss, in essence. And I'm sure anybody in here who is a business owner, you know that that is a double-edged sword. It's great to have all the freedom, but it also means that you are now responsible for everything, and everything ends up falling on your shoulders. And with that, though, I said, what can I do to continually evolve with the times and knowing how I can get people's attention? So I started in my company expanding to different streaming platforms, Facebook, Twitter, all these things. And even as I'm speaking to you now, I actually have my phone recording myself. Now, why would I record myself? Just so I like to hear myself? I mean, no, that's fine. I think the psychologist will say the most beautiful sound in the world is someone saying your name and also your own voice. I know other people will argue that, those that say I can't stand hearing myself recorded, but I've grown to tolerate it. But the real purpose for me recording myself is that I'm constantly documenting everything I do. And the reason for that is I'm actually writing a book right now. And the book is called Employee to Entrepreneur, 5 Days That Changed My Life. And the backbone of the whole thing is just documenting my whole journey from being an employee to now being an entrepreneur. And you may say, well, what does this all have to do with what I said before? Because getting my message out requires so many different, I'd say, tools, but not difficult tools to document what I'm doing rather than creating new content. There was a term with the internet a few years back that everyone said content is king. So if you had a lot of content on your website, you were going to do well in Google, you were going to get more visitors to your website. Well, it's difficult to write content. It takes time. It takes time to be creative. If you want to start a YouTube channel and you want to make a YouTube video that is, maybe it's built around a charity, and a lot of times it's difficult to do the building of the content. So what I'm doing is what's called document over create. In other words, I am spending more time documenting what I'm doing, and that in turn becomes my content. So what am I going to do with a recording that I'm making on my phone right here in the Captain's Inn in Forked River talking to Rotary? Well, this piece of audio will then be turned into a podcast. I can then turn it into a YouTube video. I can then turn it into smaller, shorter pieces that I put out on Instagram. Now, I'm sure that a lot of these things that I'm mentioning, everyone here at least has a vague recollection of what I'm talking about. When I say YouTube, when I say Instagram, when I say Twitter, even Twitter, some may say Twitter is dying. Twitter is still a quick and easy source to reach an audience real quick. So the point with all this is that this is something that you don't have to necessarily have a plan. Like in my case, I'm writing a book, so I'm documenting all these different things, and it all becomes a part of the book. But if you are part of a community organization, if you own a business, if you're in real estate, no matter what the business is that you're in, there has to be some aspect of it that you could document on a daily basis, turn that into content, and it gets your message heard by more people just by simply doing your day-to-day, whatever it is you may be doing. I consult several of my clients that are my regular website clients, and even some people who have volunteered at the radio station, because we're a nonprofit radio station. They volunteer and like, well, what can I do to make more money? What can I do to get more people to hear my message and see what I'm doing? And I sit down with them and I say, well, what are you doing on a daily basis? Well, I go this place and I meet with this client and we talk about this. Okay, did you ever think about turning that topic into a YouTube video, a quick post on Instagram? Maybe it's a selfie you take with somebody that you meet and you post that. So with what I wanted to express with this is just that in this, and I hate to use the term day and age, but in this day and age where everything can run on one of these, it's so easy to tap into a greater market. Now, and I'm a radio guy. I live and breathe radio 24/7. I live in the radio station, But I'll be the first to tell you that radio as a broadcast medium needing towers and transmitters, and Dad being an engineer probably doesn't like hearing me say this, but the days of transmitters and antennas as a delivery method for radio are coming to an end. Is it tomorrow? Is it going to be 10 years from now? I have no idea when that's going to be. The point of the matter is, going back to battling for that attention, we're still going to be battling for the attention. So how do we fix the problem? Well, simply by taking what we're already doing and do a better job of delivering that content where people are. So that's where we've actually branched out now with the radio station to take some of our programs and put them out as podcasts. Does everybody know what the term podcast is? Okay. Okay, I'll explain it. A podcast came about back in late 2006, 2007. Everybody's heard of an iPod, right? Okay. So podcasts were basically broadcasts or talk shows that were created specifically for someone to download to their iPod and take with them on their jog, while they're on the train, wherever. And what was neat about it was the cost of entry was next to nothing. And what that meant was, and still means today, because actually podcasting is at a point where it kind of dwindled through like the early teens, 2010, 2011. But now, 2017, podcasting is on fire once again. So what does it take to make a podcast? I'm doing it right now on my phone. So if you have a smartphone, you can make a podcast. If you have a computer, you can make a podcast. Even a video camera. I've done segments for my podcast on my video camera. Just popping the camera up on a tripod, sit there, and I talk to the camera. May sound silly to kind of talk to the camera in a room by yourself, but hey, I work in radio. I usually talk to a wall or a microphone, so I'm used to it. But with podcasting, because it's so cheap to get into, anybody can do it. It is as simple as, how many here have businesses with a website already? Okay. So if you have a website, you already have half the tools necessary to get your podcast, what's called feed, out to the public. So if you have a WordPress site, it's even easier. Because WordPress, you can do it for practically nothing, pennies, and upload a file right from your phone to your website, submit it to Apple. Next thing you know, people around the world are listening to your podcast on their phone, wherever they are, on their computer, on their iPod, or even Android phones. I know that I keep referencing Apple devices. It's mainly because I spend most of my time using Apple devices, but it doesn't mean that you can't do all this with an Android phone. So, William, you can do this on your phone, too.
I can. That's
okay, good. Yes.
I can get a new string with the can.
Yeah, it comes extra. But
an accessory.
It's the Bluetooth can.
I got
yeah.
it.
So, and that's just one simple method for getting your voice heard. We don't have to battle for a position on a local TV station. We don't have to. When I first started in radio, I had to beg and plead just to get a program director to let me turn the microphone on and be a DJ. I started in radio as a DJ. It was Bill Clinton's second term. So yeah, because I was dealing with the ridicule in high school because my name was so close to his. Yes. But I was, a junior in high school doing board op work. By the time I was a senior, I was allowed to go on air. My first year in college, I was doing an afternoon shift full-time in radio. But that took a lot of training and time and begging and pleading. Now, if anybody wants to start a podcast, as I said, the cost of entry, there's no one telling you you can't. The only person telling you can't is yourself. Because it's not taking a lot of extra time for me to do it. There's no one telling me I can't. So no matter what my business is, I'm actually even working with my wife now Yes, not only is she my wife, she's also one of my clients. My wife has a cleaning company on LBI, and her big thing now is she's grown